Hey, welcome to the Spark. Hope you're doing fantastic on today and everything is moving in the right direction for you. I'm Coach David and I'm super excited to have you here with me on today. Listen, life is moving forward and is moving at great paces and everything. I know this week may have been trying for some of you with the storm and the hurricane and all those kinds of things, but I want to encourage you on your way. Listen, it gets better and better and better. We have to understand that. We have to be focused on that. We got to move with that and don't let other things get us sidetracked and off course. And we are praying for all of you who, experienced that horrible storm and went through the hurricane. And we want nothing but the very best for you. And so our hope and our belief and our faith is set, but nothing but the very best for you. And we keep you lifted up. We keep you encouraged that, hey, listen, life gets better and better. Even though we go through some things, I recognize that. But however, we have to understand that life continually gets better. And if we'll get that positive mindset working right now and we'll start moving forward on those things, great and wonderful things come our way. Listen, I'm happy you have joined me on today. I want you to go ahead and shout yourselves out. Please invite somebody else to be a part of this. Please share this with somebody because today we're going to continue on, talking about in the lines of getting what you want and having an understanding of how to get what you want. On last week, I kind of finished up and I told you, I say, expect only what you want because we was talking about expectation and getting to that point of expectation of where we expect certain things because we understand that when we expect certain things, we get it. But I want to move a little further in that because when I finished up, I said, expect only that which you want. But here's the question for today. What do you want? Not what you need, not what you desire, none of that. I'm talking about what do you really want? And when I say want, what do you want to possess? What do you want to do? What conditions are you looking for in your life? Because you do know that you are the architect of your life. And you do understand that you can have the life that you desire to have. But the thing about it is you have to make a decision to have that type of life. And you can't back down from it. You have to keep going no matter what it looks like. Yes, challenges come, but they don't have to overcome. And you are the key to that. Now, what I've discovered in my time as a coach and just as a person, as a human being on this earth, most people are not good at knowing what they want. They just don't know what they do want. But boy, are they really good at knowing what they don't want. I don't want bills. I don't want, this to happen. I don't want that to happen. Now, if you ask somebody, well, what do you want? They have a tough time even trying to articulate, even trying to get to that point of understanding what they want. When you consistently focus on what you don't want, you get more of what you don't want. Now, that's called contrast. And I want to talk a little bit about that. I was talking to a good friend of mine, and as we were talking about it, she was sharing with me that the reason she believes, and I think this too, the reason why most people don't know what they really want is because they're overwhelmed with all of these different choices, all of these different situations. And so sometimes we're kind of whimsical about it. And, we see something and we say, oh man, I want that. But we haven't committed to that. We haven't gone and made a decision about that. We're kind of like, to and fro and everything else. But when you start talking about things that you don't want, boy, a lot of people, they can lay it on you, pretty thick in telling you what they don't want. And that's good when you start talking about contrast. Now, you don't want to stay there. You don't want to just focus on what you don't want because whatever you give your attention, your energy, and your focus to, you could probably finish this for me, you get more of it. So we want to understand contrast. Identifying contrast is a helpful tool to get clarity on what it is that you do want. And I call that clarity through contrast. So I'm not saying that, you put your head in the sand and don't recognize there's some things out there that you don't want in your life. Oh, we know that. There's a lot of things out there that you may not want in your life, but we understand this right here, that if we can get some clarity through the contrast, then what we can begin to do, we can take that contrast and we can look at it and we can say, okay, now I understand what I do want. And contrast, as it applies to the law of attraction, is anything you don't like, anything that doesn't feel good, anything that causes you, per se, to be in a negative mindset, to be in a negative place. All right. So you take that contrast, and now if you turn that 180 degrees, now you know what you do want. In other words, if you say, I don't want to be in a situation of a lack of money, then that lets me know that you want to be in a place of having money or having more than enough. If you tell me, well, I don't want to go through sickness, and I understand that, then what you're telling me now is that you want to be well, you want to be healthy. So that clarity through contrast is very, very important. So I don't ever want to teach you to just ignore the contrast. I want to teach you how to get beyond the contrast so that you can understand and use it and get clarity on what you want. Does that make sense? If that makes sense to you, I want you to begin immediately to look at the contrast, and then now you discover exactly what you want. Because, like I said, if you will take that and turn it 180 degrees the other way, now that tells you exactly what you do want. So the question still remains, what do you want? Now we've covered that. What do you want? And we've covered how you can get to where you know what you want. But here's the next question. How do I get what I want? How do you get what you want? Okay. And so now that you've discovered and you expect only what you want, how do you get it, David? Because that's a very, very important question. If I'm going to move forward in this, and I am, then I need to understand, how do I get these things? Because, see, I've been told for a long time that I can have these things. And David, you say I'm the architect of my life and I can design and build and live the life I want. And if that is true, David, then how do I get what I want? So I'm going to help you with that with the remaining time. All right. So what I need you to do in order to get what you want, I need you to tune in. What do you mean by tune in? All right. Just like a dial on a radio, you can tune into a radio station. And when you tune into that radio station, you get what that radio station has on it, whether it be country, whether it be hip hop, whether it be pop, whatever it is, or whether it be the news. When you tune your dial in, then you get what it's putting out. Life is exactly like that. If you will tune your objective mind to what you want, then you'll begin to see what you want. Now I have to go into detail on this for just a second. I'm not going to go into great detail because I'm going to teach a whole lesson on the objective mind and the subjective mind. And most people stay in the objective mind. And here's an easy way for you to remember the objective mind. The objective mind just focuses on objects. Yep. It's just whatever. That's why it's called the objective mind. It focuses on what it can see, what it can taste, what it can smell. It deals simply with the senses. Whereas the subjective mind, you can offer its subjects, that's the way to say it, offer its subjects, and it will tune in to that. Now, most people just go by what they see. That's why they stay where they're at. In other words, I'm seeing all this stuff around me. I'm focused on all this stuff around me. So I stay with all this stuff around me. But folks, I got to let you know something. If you are doing that, you have to learn how to tune in the objective mind to what you want and get away from all of this stuff that you don't want. I know all that stuff is around you. I know you see it every day. But look, there's got to be something beyond what I can see today. There has to be. So that's where you're tuning your objective mind using the subjective mind. And that is the biggest step towards getting or achieving or obtaining what you want. Learning to use the subjective mind to tune in the objective mind. So how do I tune in? I'm going to give you a few steps, and I'm going to give you a couple of guidelines that I think are very critical. And this is going to get you on your journey. Number one, this is the most important thing I believe everybody needs to do, is write down on a piece of paper, and a paper that you can hold on. I have mine in a spiral notebook. Hold on to, in order of importance, the things and conditions that you want. Write them down. most people don't even have things that they desire written down anywhere. So one of my mentors told me, he says, you're not serious unless you write it down and put it on paper. If you commit it to paper, that is the first step. I think that is one of the most, well, I'll put it like this. I believe that's the most important step, is getting it down on paper. Now, number two, I want you to work at being very specific. If it's a car you desire, what color, what model, what year, what features, all of that. I want you to work on being specific. Now, that part of it may take some time. I get it, because you're going to have to work at it. And I'll tell you something else that a lot of people get beat up about is when they write, or they beat themselves up when they write it down on paper and they start working on the specificality of it. What'll sometimes happen, things change. And so they'd be like, oh man, I was going this way and then it changed. Well, listen, let it change. That's okay. There's nothing wrong. You have a right to change. If you want to change your mind, you have the right and the prerogative to change your mind. I thought I wanted that, but after some clarity, after some specifics, I recognize I don't want it. So what? It's no big deal. Don't worry about that. Get it down on paper. Remember, get it down on paper in the order of importance and the conditions that you want. Work on it being very specific. If it changes, that's okay. Let it change. If you have to mark something off the list or take it off and put something else on, this is a work in process, but you are moving towards getting what you want. And that's really what it's all about. And you say, well, what if other people are going to think and everything? You just hold on a minute, because I'm going to cover that part about what other people think and everything. I will cover that for you. Here's the next thing. Never, ever be concerned about asking for too much. What are you talking about, David? People start shrinking their dreams down, or their goals or their decisions down, because they feel like they're asking for too much. Now, that's something you have to work on with yourself. Now, I recognize that people be like, are you kidding me? Listen, I'm going to talk about people here in a minute and other people outside of that. I'll get to that. But what I'm sharing with you right now, write it down and be very specific and work on it being specific. And then number three, never be concerned with asking for too much. Don't be concerned with that. Don't even let that enter into your head. That'll shut you down. Now, I'm going to give you 3 rules, if you will, 3 guidelines. You must do these in order to be successful. And I believe that when you do these 3 things, boy, you're going to see some things happen real quickly. At least I have in my life. Okay. So number 1, read your list morning, noon, and night. I just shared with you. I have mine in a spiral notebook. When I get up in the morning, that's one of the first things I look at. I open that notebook and I go through, and I'm looking at that, and I'm considering that, and I'm thinking about that. And I do that every single morning. Why? Because it's important that I look at it morning, noon, and night. I'll do it first thing in the morning. And then here's how I time it. When I eat my lunch in the afternoon, normally I eat my lunch by myself. And I go and I get in a quiet spot and I open that book again and I start going down that list. I do this. And then at night, I carry it into my bedroom. It's on my nightstand. And right before I go off to sleep or before I lay down, I look at the list again, morning, noon, and night. That's real important. Do those 3 things. The second guideline that I want to give you is to think about things that you have written down. Think about them as often as you can. One of my mentors taught me this. Bob Proctor taught me this. And he said, write it on a piece of paper and put it in your pocket. And every time that you reach your hand in your pocket, you make contact with what's written on the paper, and boom, it goes to your mind. You're thinking about it as often as possible. Think about it. Think about it. Think about it. Somebody says, well, want to be overwhelming thinking about it all the time and I'm not seeing anything? Well, listen, if you're in earnest and you're really doing this, you're going to begin to see some things. You're going to begin to hear some things. You're going to begin to move in that direction. I will share with you when I've written it down and I've done this, things start happening and I start getting witty ideas. I start getting plans. I start getting just ideas and maybe nothing other than that. But that is the start of this. Okay, stay with me. That is the start. And then the third guideline, the third rule that I will give you, do not talk to anybody about your plan. This is the part where other people come in. You don't need to disclose to them. You don't need to explain it to them. You don't need to share it with them. You don't need to get their approval on it. You don't need to get what they think about it. This is why many people are shut down, because they listen to what other people have to say instead of moving out and doing this way, allowing the subjective mind to create this thing for them and give them the ideas. I did not say that it's pie in the sky and that it's just going to happen. No, you're going to have to work at it. But when you start giving everybody and telling everybody about it, you dissipate that energy from getting it done. This is so powerful to moving towards what you want, is not allowing the energy to be dissipated, not allowing other people to talk you out of it, not allowing other people to share with you what they did. This is what people do sometimes, and I've had this happen to me. They'll tell you, well, I tried that, David, and let me tell you what happened to me. I don't care what happened to you. I've said it just like that. I do not care what happened to you. This is my plan. This is my thing. I'm moving forward in it. I'm getting witty ideas. The universe, God, has given me things to do to get it done, and it doesn't matter what happened for somebody else. Boy, if you'll do those things, all right, read it morning, noon, and day. 2, think about it as often as possible. And 3, don't share it with anybody. Watch this right here. Some great things are going to happen. And I just heard this inside of me. Well, what about the power of agreement? Yeah, I'm all about the power of agreement, but maybe you need to find the right person to agree with you on it, okay, before you start sharing it. So this is how you get what you want. And I don't care what it is. I just share it with you. Take the lid off and go for it. This is how you get it. Now, I recognize that you may not have the faith for this when you first start, but we'll talk about that next week, maybe, about how you're going to build up to this. But just do these things. Get it down on paper, all right, in order of importance and everything. Get it down. Start working on the specificality. Some of my things I'm still being very specific about. I'm working on that right now. And then remember this right here. You got to tune in that objective mind by training it through the subjective mind. And when you do those things, great and wonderful things are going to happen for you. Well, I hope this has helped you. I went a little bit longer than I normally do, but I felt it was necessary to get you there. Now, do me a favor. Share this with somebody, because people need to hear this. People need to understand this. People need to move forward in this. And a whole lot of people could have a whole lot more if they just knew that this is what it's for. And watch this right here. Watch this right here. You're not doing this just to heap it up on yourself. All right. You want better for others. I think so much about when I'm able to have more, I can do more for other people as well. And that's really what it's all about, because we're all in this together. We're interconnected one way or another. So go for it. That's all I can say. Go for it. And you know what? And as it's working, I would love to hear your testimonies. You can direct message me the great things that are going on in your life and all of that. I love hearing that. That encourages me that, one, other people got it working. 2, that what we're teaching is working. So share them with me. I would love to hear it. But listen, I went a little bit longer. I'm going to get out of here. Remember this right here. Remember this right here as you share this with somebody else. You are the architect of your very own life. I just showed you how to do it. And I believe in you. I'll see you next week. Bye.